Advice for how to have difficult conversations with family members who are making bad money moves.
Ooh, yeah, that's hard.
That can be super difficult when it's your elders in a family.
Yes, if it's like a parent.
Yeah.
I think the best way is, first of all, journal about it. We have to get it all out. All the nasty, angry, whatever you want to say, it's okay to write that stuff out. You need to get it out of your body so you feel like, and then consider the bullet points of what you really want them to hear. Keep it minimal, 3 to 5 things. Like that's the maximum amount of things you should try to get across. Then practice saying them out loud in front of a mirror to a spouse or a friend, and try to role play what you think they're going to say back. And do that a few times until we call it no emotional charge. It really means that you don't get heated or overwhelmed in the conversation so that you can stay level-headed. And then go do it. Pick a time that's not a super stressful time, like holidays are terrible, a birthday party is terrible. Just go to dinner or go over on your own, just a random occasion. And that's where, when you should speak about it.
I feel like it's so important what you said about just keeping a very narrow focus on what you're trying to get across. Mm-hmm. And I think particularly that's important because not only is it easier to take in when it's a relatively manageable number of things or specific, but it's also a lot easier to kind of keep the focus where it needs to be, keep a person accountable, because when you have a whole litany of things, you can easily cherry pick one of them, kind of argue it out, and like maybe whether it's whataboutism or it's making false equivalencies, it's very easy with a huge litany of things for the person to feel very overwhelmed, defensive, and find ways to poke holes in it.
Totally. Or just shut down.
Or
they don't even hear you. And I think that's the biggest problem when we try to communicate a lot of things at once, is it just gets lost.
Yeah.
I even feel that way personally if someone's like, so today I need you to, and they just start, if they were like, here's the 15 things I need you to do, after like 3 or 4, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
My brain just checks out kind of. So keep that in mind. And I think practicing it really helps too, because we don't want to be overly emotional. That's when we'll say things we don't mean. We'll take things personally. Just in keeping it to what really needs to get across so they actually hear you.
I agree. We were talking before we started filming. I go to therapy once a week, and I find the most effective sessions individually are when we work on one very specific thing. And I, like, to your point, will practice what I want to say about something, and just even say it out loud. We role play sometimes a conversation that I'm a little nervous about having. And obviously it's easier to do that with a therapist, but it is still something that you can do with a trusted loved one who is not part of the situation, like maybe a spouse or a best friend who's not necessarily involved with this parent situation, but could be a sounding board and tell you how things are coming across. Because ultimately, a lot of it just comes down to how clear and composed you're able to be in the moment, and how compassionate you can be. Because let's be honest, confronting someone about a bad money habit is not that different from confronting them about something else, like perhaps a substance problem or a behavioral problem, where it is so easy for that conversation to become incredibly defensive.
Totally, because essentially you're looking out at them and saying, like, something that you're doing doesn't sit well with me.
Right.
And we have to do that in a very careful and cautious way so that they don't immediately shut down and stop listening or leave the conversation.
Which is, an understandable response on some level. It's terrifying to be called out.
Yeah, it's hard.